Okay, well, welcome. Thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is Russell DeSalvo, and I am President and CEO of PluebloPlex. I want to thank you for being here, especially on a night like tonight that's cold in January. We've got the big lotto drawing tonight. It's the last season of American Idol, so we appreciate your spending some time with us this evening. We also appreciate your input and collaboration and participation in our previous public meetings, and we look forward to sharing the community's plan with you later this evening. As a third-generation Puebloan, it was important to me that we do this project right, and to not just stand by and receive whatever is given to us at Pueblo. Good enough is not good enough from my perspective. The PluebloPlex Board of Directors, and I want the board members to raise their hand or stand up for a minute if you can. Alan McConnell, Terry Hart, Patsy Cresswell, Kurt Maddox in the room, Lori Clark. I just want to let you know that these folks have worked for many years to provide our community with the ability and the funding to undertake this world-class, and I truly mean that, a world-class planning effort on behalf of PluebloPlex. And I would like to thank them publicly for their efforts on our behalf. So, to our board. PluebloPlex is very important to Pueblo, and it really truly has become my life's mission to ensure that this project is successful. It has the potential, over time, to significantly expand our employment base, our real estate values, to expand our property tax base, to attract significant investment from out of town and out of state, and to fuel economic and population growth for our community. We have worked extremely hard to make this planning process open, transparent, and collaborative, and to ensure that everyone has a voice and that everyone understands the scope, the scale, and the magnitude of this project that we're about to embark upon. It has not been easy, but I'd like to thank Colonel Tom Duncan, who just walked in the room, and his staff at the Pueblo Chemical Depot for the tremendous support that they've given to our consultants and to our organization as we completed this planning process. And I'd also like to say a special thanks to the PluebloPlex staff that's in the room. We have Chris Boltz and Michael Clarkson over here in the corner, Laura Heberly and Chris Hartman out in front. They're not in the room at this time, but I'd like to thank them for all of their hard work. So I'm going to go with the shorter version of my speech. And so with that, I just want to say tonight, we're excited to share our new redevelopment plan with you. It's the community's plan. And I'd like to introduce Dan Schneff and Celeste Werner from Matrix Design Group. They are going to walk us through the plan tonight. And we'll have a Q&A period afterward if you have questions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell, and I'm really happy to see the crowd. Many of you I've seen on some of the other public meetings. Matrix is just so excited to be at this point, helping you culminate in a draft public plan. And we're going to spend the next 2 hours doing that. But before I do that, I want to also extend a thank you to the exceptional and professional attitude that was had by everybody involved over the last 8 to 9 months. Russell, your staff has been just tremendous. The accolades go out to you first as the organizer and the manager and the lead for the project. You've been very appreciative with your direction, and we really appreciate it. I want to also thank the Army, Colonel Duncan in the back. I know that you guys have been instrumental in getting us all the data that we needed to compile to bring this thing together in a way that made sense so that the public could look at something that had some teeth in it and had some reality to it. Lastly, and not certainly least, but I want to thank the state of Colorado. I know that the environmental constraints have been dealt with back and forth, and they've been looked at in addition to the engineering and the economics. And what we're going to present over the next 2 hours is something, we have heartstrings for it, but it's not our plan. We're merely a tool. Matrix Design Group has done this all over the country for many decades, and I'm very proud of this specific plan. First, I'm proud of it, as I said, when we first came and interviewed, because it's in my home state, where we're headquartered, and I got to spend a lot of days in my own bed versus having to travel other places to do the work. So that's been very, very rewarding to me. Secondly, when you look at these projects with this kind of size and the magnitude of the asset, they're not easy programs. And this one, based on the great population base in the city of Pueblo, the county, the towns that are close by here, provides the kind of base that you need to get some critical mass to get the project moving. The second aspect of it is the asset itself, and we have a beautiful highway system here. We've got a great airport close by and an amazing rail asset that runs right through the property. So the project has been challenging, but at the same time it's got tremendous assets. Today we're going to try and get through this in about 2 hours. My partner Celeste is going to walk us through the highlights of the plan, and again, this is your plan. I'm very proud to see a lot of the faces in the crowd again that have been here to the other public meetings. We've listened, we've heard you, and we've implemented a lot of your ideas, a lot of your great ideas. The next phase of work will be moving into implementation, and we've got a great start for it. So with that, Celeste, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's go through the plan.
Great, thank you, Dan. And good evening, everybody. It's great to see everybody. It is truly a privilege to have the opportunity this evening to unveil the public draft plan that all of you had the opportunity to participate in. Your voices were heard. You've heard both Russell as well as Dan state it is your plan. It's not Matrix's plan. We're here as the technical experts, the subject matter experts. We bring forward lessons learned and best practices, and we facilitate and guided you in the draft. So as we go through, and we do present and unveil the draft plan this evening, we're also going to give you an overview of the draft homeless assistance submission. But before we do that, I look out to the audience and I see a number of people that I've seen at each of the different public meetings in the past. So thank you for coming and continuing your support in the development of this plan. So as we start here, I just stated that because you're going to see some of the same slides that you heard before. So for those of you who are new this evening, we want to make sure we give you some background on where we started, why we're here this evening, and where we're going. So the project overview. This all started in 1942 when the Pueblo Chemical Depot was established. It was one of 9 installations that basically housed chemical weapons. Overall, it was the home of about 8% of chemical weapons for the nation. But unfortunately, in 1988, through the BRAC, the Base Realignment and Closure Act, Congress decided to do a realignment for PCD, the Pueblo Chemical Depot. And thus, they went forward, and in 1994, your state developed or created a development authority, and in 1995, the federal government recognized Development Authority as a local redevelopment authority, an LRA, which is part of the BRAC process. So since then, in 2013, the Army identified, or formally identified, the site that we're planning this evening as surplus property. And thus, that is why we're here this evening, is to develop the redevelopment plan or the reuse plan for this site. And I'll go into a lot more detail on what that site is, where it's located, and a little bit more about its assets. The key is there is an abundance of assets out there. The purpose of this plan is to take those assets and to reinvent them, and for the better or the greater community purpose of economic development. So where is the project located? The project's located approximately 15 miles east from I-25 in Pueblo, city of Pueblo. It's about 3 miles east of the airport. You'll all note that it's the entrance to the Pueblo Chemical Depot, or PluebloPlex, the site that we're talking about, which is here in the gray, the dark gray I should say, is just north of US 50 and just south of the Transportation Technology Center. As you all probably are well aware of its location, it's been part of this community and weaved as part of generations in the past and for this beautiful. So let's focus in from a regional level more towards the project site today. So the project site you'll see is the dark gray outline here. Stair steps up. It's approximately 15,800, not approximately, it is 15,847 acres. You'll hear me say 16,000 acres just for ease of talking this evening. That may not look very large on this map, but when you step back and you look at what it really is in reference to another community, it's just about the same size as the Sea of Miami, Florida. which is a self-sustainable community. So that's what we're actually looking at tonight as we develop a land use plan for the future of PluebloPlex. You'll note that in the northeastern part here, the light gray where the PCAP is, that's currently part of the demo active. So when I say currently part of, this whole site is part of PCD until it is officially transferred. So this is just part of the different steps as we move forward through the official transfer. Some of the other assets that I talked about, it has approximately 125 habitable structures. And in addition to that, over 600 storage windows, which totals about 3.1 million square feet of structures throughout the entire project site. An abundance of assets as we move forward into the plan. It also has a circulation network, both a roadway as well as a rail network. And you'll see the total number of miles here with the paved roadways as well as the website. So why is this important to all of you? Because you heard Russell talk about it, it's a world-class opportunity, a unique opportunity for this community to develop and create new jobs, and it is one of the largest redevelopment projects in the U.S. Today, it is extremely difficult to find this large of a land mass for a redevelopment project, where you can bring in and attract businesses and industries who are looking for large, contiguous pieces for development. So it is truly the catalyst for economic development in the future, not only at PluebloPlex, but it will be a catalyst for economic development through indirect uses within the region. So our planning project, or process, I should say, it's a 12-month process. We started in April of 2015, and I'm going to answer here shortly. We are currently here in January, and we're excited, as I stated, to present the public draft to all of you. It's in a 30-day public review period, and I'll get into a little bit more information on that here shortly. So as we move forward through the overview or the highlights of the plan, the next steps are going to be finalizing the plan, which is what we're looking at finalizing that at the end of February of this year. And then ultimately the end of March, right at the beginning of April, which will close out our 12-month process, we'll be developing and presenting to PluebloPlex an implementation strategy. And the strategy gives the framework to go into phase 2 to implement the plan, to put together an entire implementation plan, step-by-step action strategies, how are we going to fund it, and what is the timeline of all of those actions to move forward and make sure that this becomes a realistic plan. So you heard me state earlier that many of you have been here before, you've been part of the public meetings, and your voice has been heard. And your input at those public meetings were very instrumental in the development of the plan and what you're going to be hearing tonight. So I want to highlight some of the items that we heard from all of you and all of the different public meetings and the participants who were part of that public meeting. If you remember back in the fall of 2015, we had a public meeting regarding land use alternatives. And we presented to the public 3 different alternatives: a low, a moderate, and a high development impact. Overwhelmingly, we heard your voice, and the majority of the people who were at the public meetings supported the high development impact alternative. In addition to that, during those public meetings, we had 2. We had one in Avondale, and we had one here in the city. And at those public meetings, we gave the public an opportunity to develop their own preferred plan. And the total number of plans, they got into groups and they developed plans, were 13. So we had 13 great plans to look at, to use as we move forward and develop the public drafts that you're going to see tonight. Of those 13 plans, you'll see here the number that really focus on the type of land uses, from manufacturing and distribution, storage, to law enforcement. They all had and weaved in open space and recreation. So you'll see the different types of numbers there, 10 of the 13 and such. So that helped us and helped guide us into the development of the plan that we're going to be presenting to you this evening. So, here we are as we unveil the plan. And yep, we're very excited. I don't know if you had the opportunity to see on the walls, we do have a couple plans that are hung, and those are actually the public draft plans. So if you have not had the opportunity before the meeting to go view them, if you'd like to take a closer look after the meeting, we really encourage you to please look at them. We'll be around to answer additional questions as well. So you just heard me talk about the public's input. You were heard, your voices were very important, and you'll see as we move forward and present the highlights of the plan that it really integrated many of the comments and input that we had. But in addition to the public input, we took our technical expertise in the assessment of existing conditions into account. So you'll see that in previous meetings, we gave you details on all of the assessments that we went through. We went through the economic and market analysis. We looked at the demographics within the community, within the region, what the workforce skill sets were, and to try to match that up with the market as well, so we can leverage that for the existing population and community. We looked at the off-site conditions. We want to make sure that as we develop the plan, that the land uses that we develop were compatible with the neighbors and the surrounding area. And we looked at the internal site conditions. We want to make sure that as we develop the type of uses that we took into consideration the condition of the site, the assets that were where they were located. We looked at environmental conditions like floodplains and wetlands. So we looked at all of those as well to make sure that the plan was very, very technically sound and realistic. And then we looked at development suitability, which basically wrapped everything that I just talked about into one map and stated these are the areas that are preference or preferred for the type of uses as we move forward in development. There's one thing, you'll see the last bullet here says land use flexibility. You just heard me say that this is the size of the city of Miami. So just imagine, this plan is a build-out plan. It looks at the future, very, very, very long term. And in doing so, we have to take into consideration the market and technology and the ever-changing, emerging innovation of technology. So we never know what the future may have in store for any of us in the industries. And I'll give you an example. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, who knew that alternative energy would be such a thriving industry today? So, maybe a handful. But so we don't know what that crystal ball is in the future. So as we move forward in the plan that we have presented or we're presenting to you today as your plan, integrates flexibility. So you'll have that opportunity to move and change with the market. So here it is. I know it's not exciting as we unveil it, but it really is, and maybe it's because I love doing what I do here, and I love your community. We've become very, very close and made a lot of great relationships and friends for life, and we have the opportunity to continue with it. You'll see here that we said that the plan is made up of 12 different land use areas or land use categories or districts. As we move forward, I'm going to highlight some of those areas and what you could possibly do there, again, stressing flexibility. The other thing that I want to talk about is it's more than just land use. We incorporated a very high-level circulation plan as well, and I'll go through that. So, if we step back, and instead of just looking at an entire big huge land use plan, let's kind of zoom in and try to figure out how did it emerge. So when we're looking at land uses, compatibility and transitions are really important to make sure that it works well. The industry, the businesses, and the leaders in the communities look at that. And you don't want to be having a dirty industry right next to the workforce housing. So that's what I'm talking about as far as compatibility and transition between uses. So you'll see here, what we're highlighting is the industrial type of uses. We clustered all of those internal to the site. The purple you'll see is the manufacturing, warehouse, and distribution. We have the gold, which is the storage and warehousing, and then the dark gray and black, which is rail car storage and the loading facility, the transportation loading facility. All snug in the center here. And then they are buffered by non-industrial type of uses. So you'll see here on the periphery, they're made up of anything from recreation, agriculture, research and development in the blue, commercial housing, and this is a water recharge area. So as we move forward, I'm going to highlight one other area, the buffering. So we want to be courteous to the neighbors. And as we work from the center of industrial uses and then to non-industrial uses, we did our best to put very low, intense type of uses on the very peripheral part of the project site. And you'll see to buffer the west side of the county and the neighbors there, we have the recreation, the water charge area here. And we have agriculture, which is a very low intensity type of use that is to the southeast, that buffers the southeast part of the county and the green parcels in that area. So we took all of that into consideration in funding. The circulation plan, high level, is the major arterial roadway, which you'll see in the blue. So that weaves throughout and connects all the different types of land uses, as well as all of the different assets as you go forward. In addition, we looked at access to the site. So there are two existing entrances. They're in the red circle, which you can see here, just north of US 50 and to the top here, or in the northern side of the site. We are proposing a new entrance on the eastern side off of El Rancho Road here. So that will provide 3 major gateways into the community. It's a very, very large site. So to have just 2, we felt that there was a need for the third one to make sure we had full flow and circulation. In addition to the roadway network, we looked at the rail. So we took the rail network that you'll see here in purple. It's not the entire rail network. This is the rail network that has its condition, and we're going to utilize that as the main rail where we can explore off of. And then ultimately, we're proposing a new interchange at US 50 into the gateway of PluebloPlex. So we're going to quickly run through each of the different land use areas to give you a highlight of how big they are and to highlight some of the potential uses that could possibly be housed in these areas. So our largest area is the manufacturing, warehousing, and distribution land use category area. You'll see that it's identified here in purple. About 3,300 acres in total, centrally located and taking advantage of our large warehouses that are currently out on the site.
Celeste, I might add, each of the land use program elements that you see is based first and foremost on the attributes of the economics. So when you look at your ability to attract warehouse, very high from an economic point of view. There's a great wage rate here for different types of manufacturing, so that's very high. These weren't just picked, I guess, capriciously. They were dictated by both the desires of the community and the economics behind it.
Our market and economic market studies that we did, and business attraction study as well. There's a number of technical memos and studies behind all of this science. So this is a list of some of the potential uses for the manufacturing warehouse. It really can serve anything, anywhere from a very small scale to a large scale company within this area, from all different type of sectors, from manufacturing furniture to technology to computers and such. So we made it very, very, very broad. Another thing I want to identify or point out is you'll see on these potential list of uses is a secondary use area. So you'll note that there's commercial, there's such. So that even highlights the flexibility. So if there's a type of use, a land use area, and it's adjacent to another use, that does not state it cannot be commercial or office or warehouse storage. It really provides that secondary type of use. If you have a business that comes in here and says, I like this area, but it's purple, but I have commercial and I don't put commercial there, that provides the flexibility to make sure you can continue to attract businesses across the span of all sectors. And it still is compatible. Warehouse and storage is about 20%. It's the second largest type of or area, land use area within the plan. It is encompasses all of the 600 acres of storage igloos that are currently on site. So we keep saying storage igloos, so the first thing that comes to mind is the best thing to do in those igloos is storage. They're currently being leased for personal storage, which is great. There are a lot of other opportunities and uses that can be home to within these igloos. You know, they hold a median temperature, interior temperature of about 55 degrees. That is perfect for storage of food. My specialty area would be wine and cheese. So that's just one area that you'll see, our cheese picture here. But in addition to that, it also has the opportunity to be bringing utilities there. It can be an office for incubator, small startup businesses. It can be used for agriculture and for growing certain types of foods and plants and vegetables and such. So there's a great number of uses, not only interior, but on the exterior as well. You can use the exterior for even part of the expansion of an energy park. So there's so many different opportunities out there with the warehouse and storage. R&D, research and development within education is about 12% of the overall site. You'll see it's located here in blue. This is one land use area that's not contiguous, so they're non-contiguous, which is very, very good. It gives you the opportunity to leverage different types of R&D, from the active type of uses to the passive type of uses. And what do I mean by that? So active would be like hands-on type of R&D or education, or outdoor type of education, like law enforcement, which may not necessarily be compatible with the passive type of uses, which is the classroom or the laboratory type of uses, where they need more quiet and more compatible uses that are adjacent to it. So this is, we believe, is very, very advantageous for our market. This just gives you an idea of some of the potential uses. There's an abundance of uses that you'll see here. We talked about law enforcement, there's aerospace, the list goes on, and then again, we have our secondary uses. So we have rail car storage. Rail car storage is right in the center here. It is excellently located to take advantage and to have access to the rail as well as the warehouses, the storage areas, the maintenance areas. Dan, I don't know if you want to provide a little bit more detail on the rail storage.
If you remember back to the map that showed the rail and the highway and the circulation, the transload facilities as well as rail car storage are centrally located, which provides a real advantage to access and egress. If you've got a transload facility working to the north there of the rail car storage area, you can move products, you can move goods, you can move all kinds of things on any one of two major types of transit, rail and highway. And then, of course, you mentioned the airport being in close proximity for that type of distribution as well. So the roadway network is going to be very important, and that's going to be the next major step when you get into detailed planning and design.
And some of the type of uses just gives you a pictorial of some of the other rail storage areas in other parts of the country. Commercial is located in your gateway, right off of US 50, and you'll see here in the red, it's about 460 acres of land. The great thing is it is an opportunity to not only service the workers that are located out at PluebloPlex as well as the residents, but it also has the opportunity to leverage and market and provide services to the motorist along the S50. And so some of the uses can be widespread. It could be anywhere from the restaurants and hotels to community services like dry cleaners and banks that you'll need for the residential part, workforce housing area, to the convenience auto and truck plazas that you'll see along the freeway. So there's a lot of opportunity to market the commercial area. We can talk about residents. So the workforce housing is just, the residential area is just located east of the commercial area, which is right here. You see, makes up about 2% of the overall area. It is located in what we understand right now a very clean area of PluebloPlex. So we feel very comfortable about that. These gives you an idea of the mix of type of housing. We're not saying it's just single family or apartments or townhomes. It truly has the opportunity to be a mix, a full sustainable type of community. And internal to the workforce housing area, you also have the opportunity to have commercial as well. And you'll see that in the second one.
Celeste,
Recreational,
I want to add about the workforce housing. It's not designed to compete in the marketplace outside of the installation. It's designed to be a business attraction strategy for industries where the workforce wants to be in close proximity to the industry, which will be located on the PluebloPlex property. So this type of housing is very usually cost effective, and it's a benefit to both the community and the workforce that ends up on the PluebloPlex property.
The transportation loading facility is about 113 acres strategically located just north of the rail storage area, and of course next to the rail, like the major rail spurs. And this just gives you an idea of list of some of the type of uses from maintenance of the rails to the loading and grain storage, and of course secondary uses. If you had anything to add to that?
Well, I don't know how much people know about rail car storage, but we've seen this in many sites across the country. As the economy ebbs and flows, rail car storage becomes a real opportunity for revenue generation. When there's an economic downturn, the rail is not moving as much across the United States, and all of the rail movers need places to store their cars. We found through economic studies that this could be very advantageous from an economic return point of view. Generally, you get between $1 and $3 a car per day just sitting there on your site. So there's a big advantage having a rail car storage area, especially when you have this kind of land mass that's not going to affect the general population.
Thank you. And institutional is about 60 acres, although very small, very important to a community. So just think of that as located right here next to the existing evaporative lagoons. So this will house something like your wastewater treatment plant for this community, for PluebloPlex. It has the opportunity to be the public works yard, public works offices, and other types of uses that are institutional to running as well. This just gives you a couple ideas of the housing right there. Open space and recreation. As I stated, it not only serves as a buffer, but it also provides active as well as passive type of uses. It can provide anything from hiking trails to active uses, just get back over here, such as golf courses and motocross, camping, as well as grazing. So that's another mix of a type. You can go with grazing as open space or recreation, but it definitely would be co-mingled with those type of uses. And the energy park, which is located to the north here in the dark green gas color, it's about 1,500 acres, and that is an area that could locate, or you could locate any type of possibly a solar farm, a wind farm. You could put waste to energy out there, biomass opportunities. But in addition to that, the area within the recreation area could be part of alternative energy or the energy park, and also parts of the storage area as well. That just gives you a couple of photographs and type of uses in other areas. agricultural research and development, so ag-R&D. So it could be just for agricultural, it could be for, and you can see it's located here, in the dark or the light green. It's about 1,100 acres, and you'll see these are some of the example photos that would be used for greenhouses, for grazing as well, and as well as bioenergy, the R&D side of the house. Again, flexibility built in room. And our water recharge area, which is here to the southwest, which is in blue, that is also part of our open space and recreation, can be integrated. And then again, the water recharge area can expand into the recreation area. It's really dependent on the market and the need at the time. There's opportunities to, although man-made, you could create recreational uses through the man-made drainage and water recharge areas. Another part of this project is the homeless assistance submission. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Tim Reese. Tim Reese is part of our team, and he was instrumental in putting together the submission here, the draft submission.
Consideration of the needs of the homeless is part of the federal law, the BRAC law, under which this plan is being developed. It requires that the homeless organizations and local public agencies be given the opportunity to acquire property and or assets on the base as part of the overall process. It also requires that the redevelopment plan that Celeste has talked about balances the community's economic needs against the needs of the homeless and its local agencies. So to that end, the PDADA has gone through an extensive outreach process to talk to various homeless groups and local agencies through public meetings, through brochures and other information that's been distributed to them, and have met with them on various occasions to explain the process, explain the facilities and assets that are available. So, and through that process, they have received two notices, what's called notices of interest, from two groups in the community. Pueblo Cooperative Care of Colorado has requested an igloo for storage. Celeste identified or stated that the base has 620 igloos, so they're requesting one igloo for that. They presented a business plan to the board directors for that facility. The board approved that plan, and since that process could take several years, they have agreed to go into a one-year annual lease for that group so they can get into the facility and actually start to benefit that organization. The Pueblo Rescue Mission was another organization that initially requested some assets. They have not yet completed the business plan for this process. So until they do so, they can't really officially be included in this homeless submission, but they will, the board has agreed to entertain and maintain a placeholder for that group should they move forward with their request. The public agency, local government agency that made a request through the public benefit conveyance process is a group which has been called the Joint Law Enforcement Partners, which is made up of the Colorado State Patrol, Pueblo County Sheriff's Office, and Pueblo Police Department. Their request is a pretty extensive request of both land and facilities that include 16 storage facilities and two 90,000 square foot buildings. They are also in the process of finalizing their request. And the PDADA is going to work with all of those agencies and groups to facilitate their needs and make sure that they are accommodated, because given the extensive resource that we have on this base, the amount of land, the amount of buildings and other assets, there is no problem in meeting any of those specific needs. So that outreach program has been successful and probably has been more extensive than any process that I've been involved in this base closures work. So we're very confident that we have not only met the needs of the law, but also met the needs of those in the community who have asked for facilities and assets.
So as you can see, as we walk through the plan, majority of the uses that came out of the 13 plans that the public had the opportunity to develop during the group exercises were highlighted and integrated into the public draft. So I stated earlier that we're in a 30-day public review period, and we encourage, and we really would love to hear from all of you and your friends and your neighbors and the rest of the community in regards to the public draft that is out for review. So we've had a total of 3 public meetings. This is the 3rd public meeting. Sadly to say, it will be the last public meeting. So after tonight and after your comments are submitted, please, we encourage you to go back to the website, the project website, in the end of the March, April time period to view the final plan. And so the public review period started January 11th, and it runs through midnight on February 9th. There are a number of different ways that all of you can provide input. There are electronic copy that you can download from the project website, which is www.PluebloPlex.com. See that right here. And it's on your fact sheet that you have. And it looks like this, so just look for that icon, click that, and you can download it. And if you don't have access to the computer or a computer, there are hard copies available for viewing in 2 locations. One at the main library here in the city, as well as the community center in Abigail. So those are the 2 areas or 3 areas you'll have the opportunity to look at or download a copy of the plan. So how do you comment? So now you have a copy of it or you're viewing it. How do you provide comments? Well, part you've heard Tim talk about, part of the law is some of the requirements that we all have to meet. One of them is that all of the comments need to be documented in writing. When I say writing, they would be written in electronic form, you receive them in electronic form, and or a hard copy as well. So what we have done is we created a comment tracker, and here's a picture of it right here, for ease of providing your comments, where you would state what chapter or what page, what your comment is and such. And or if you would like to just send us a letter with your comments, that is fine as well. So that is just to provide an ease of providing comments. But overall, you'll be able to provide comments tonight. But if you do provide comments tonight, and I'll go into that in a minute, comment tracker, the comment cards are important. You can provide your comments online at the project website. You can email your comments in. You can fax your comments in, or you could use the good old U.S. Postal Service to provide your comments. Just as long as we receive them by midnight on February 9th, excuse me. So at the meeting tonight, we're going to go into a question and answer session. Please note that if you're asking questions and you want them to be part of your comments, we need you to take the comment cards that are at the table, or if you're handed one, and write it down, because we do need to have it in its written form, as I stated earlier. So if you need more, we have a lot more of those on our desk. After you complete the comment cards, please, on your way out, submit them in the basket that's on the signage or sign-in table. Online. So when you're online and you're downloading the document, if you have some comments that are within 1,000 characters, you have the opportunity to hit the screen tab here that says send a comment. You can send your comments via electronically on the website. And then the other 3 ways, as I stated, is email, fax, or U.S. Postal Service. This is the information here. It's also on your fact sheet hard copy that you have on the back here. That's all of the information. So, it's all about people. You heard us talk about that, and we really mean it. So please take some time to provide us your comments and input into the final plan as we move forward. We'd like to open it up for question and answers, but before we do that, I'd like to talk about what we do have in store for you tonight. A little surprise. Hopefully it's exciting. I think it's exciting. So We went out and we bought a few Powerball tickets. Never know what may happen, right? So they're not for PluebloPlex proper, but potentially you could be a recipient of one of these great little Powerball tickets. So we will be, so stay with us through the question and answer session, because we're going to be raffling off 20 Powerball tickets. You were given a number, and you're probably wondering why you were given a number when you signed in, and hopefully you did sign in, because hopefully you did if you came as a couple, like a Mr. and Mrs., and you didn't say Mr. and Mrs., because if so, get back out there right away and split that baby up so you have 2 options to win. So we'll go ahead
This
and do
is
that.
so exciting. We're going to raffle one right now.
I want you to know that I signed up.
Right now.
No, I didn't. No, I'm just
So
kidding.
we ran a random number generator.
Are we going to do it right now?
Yeah, we did one.
Oh, we're going
Just
to do
to
one
show
right
it
now?
works,
Oh,
yeah.
excited. Okay.
So if you're holding the number, or we're told you had number 7, you can come up and pick a card.
Oh, excellent. We got our first winner of the evening. Congratulations.
Is it
The only thing that I personally ask on behalf of everybody is you let us know that you won, because we'll be wanting to celebrate with all of you. I think that would be so exciting. So at this point in time, thank you, Dan. I'd like to hand it over to Russell and Chris Bolt of PluebloPlex. They're going to facilitate the question and answers. We're going to be here assisting in answering the questions. So we'd like to open it up to all of you. This is your opportunity to ask any questions that you may have this evening. I know, they want to get to the Powerball raffle. That's right.
Everybody wants to get home. Does anybody have any questions for us, the design team or the planning team that we've assembled relating to the plan that we unveiled tonight?
I got a quick question. If we were to go on the site, are those comments public for everybody? Could we go through what everybody else is asking?
Yes, we'll consolidate all of the questions. Pardon? But they will definitely be anonymous.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But you'll be able to see the
You'll
comments.
be able to see the comments, and you'll also be able to see how we responded. So that will also be available.
Did I miss something, or did we eliminate the large compound for police training? That was on the original. The last couple of meetings we had, there's a large compound on the east side for police training. I didn't see it in this diagram.
So Carl, there's actually 2 areas that we're contemplating for law enforcement and R&D. So this area here, where there's the 1-mile oval track, the range out at the depot is up in this area here. So this area here, we're thinking for law enforcement training as well. So there's up to 1,880 acres that's set aside for education, R&D, and training. So we've used the flexibility and the general nature of how we've labeled these different land uses, and so the law enforcement would be contained in this area.
I believe we have it right here, law enforcement training. Firing range is a photo.
Thank you.
I wasn't at the other meetings, but I just want to understand who owns the property. I mean, because that's government property, right, to start with.
The United States Army owns the property currently,
Right.
and within the next 18 to 24 months, we will begin transferring or actually purchasing property through PluebloPlex, which is a political subdivision of the state of Colorado. That basically represents our community. So we will then take ownership of the property and then resell the property or lease or somehow improve the property and prepare it for market over the next few years.
Has there been any clarification of the water availability at where we're at? Because in prior meetings, that was a big question.
As you well know, water is probably the most precious commodity in the state of Colorado, and at different times, different years, based on drought and so forth, it can become very difficult. The Army's water right for the property was not a primary right or perfected primary right. However, as a matter of cost, you can provide water to the site through the jurisdiction, through Pueblo, to the city of Pueblo. It would require additional infrastructure put in, and we're still working through the details on the water rights acquisition for the development. But it is one of the bigger challenges related to the redevelopment. We have a next phase of work, so to speak, is where you start to look at the plan and how it will implement. And this is going to be a key question to be answered during the implementation phase of work. We definitely will need to be able to provide water to be able to attract industry. It's probably the top issue as it relates to implementation. There are over 700 acre-feet of water that are currently assigned to the site, and where those rights fit is at this point being adjudicated.
Yes, but with the storage area for your rail cars, will there be areas for repair of rail cars and research and development for the new technology that's going into the railroad at this point in time, as far as you know, the electronic for wheels and all that good stuff, repair? Will that be part of it?
Can you raise your hand, please?
It's over here, to your right.
Ah, there we go. The rail car storage facility is probably going to be one of those private ventures that ends up being developed over time. Currently, you have a rail provider on site, short rail operator, but the idea is, and we've seen this at other sites around the country, the rail becomes a very important commerce component, and it does. The other sites around the country have developed both storage, repair, and rail operations as a primary function on the site. Any industrial complex is going to be limited if it doesn't have the capacity and the access and egress that rail provides. This site is very well suited based on the rail that's there already. There's a lot of heavy rail in the main line that can have higher access speeds, and the rails that are off of that, the spring-lanes rails off of that, will provide varying degrees of capacity as well at lower speeds. As industry grows, part and parcel of that is a tipping bucket approach, and the investments will have to be made to improve not only rail but all manner of industrial complex as the site develops. It's an extraordinarily large site, but rail is an extraordinarily important component to the redevelopment.
And
So
Ralph,
when you
just to follow up on your question, currently we're doing rail car storage. We're just getting in the rail logistics business and rail car repair. We're working with International Engineering, Ryan McWilliams and his group. We just did a pilot test on some small repairs on, I think, 5 tanker cars that are currently on the depot. So rail is definitely in our future. It's probably one of the first industries that will monetize or locate to the depot in our opinion.
Okay, time for another drawing. Number 12. Oh! Congratulations for all your hard work. Good luck.
Yeah, I'll let you know for Jamaica.
There you go. Other questions?
What existing utilities do you have on site, such as water and sewer and power?
So we have electrical, natural gas. We have a very robust fiber network. Our water is a well system. So we have 11 wells on the depot. And, for the time being, that will be our source of water on the depot. We do not have an active wastewater treatment plant. We have an evaporative lagoon system on the depot. So those, as we evolve into our next phase, when we begin implementing and putting our business plans together, all of those things are going to have to be studied, and we're going to have to find funding mechanisms to put them in place in order to build this out. The other thing that I think we should should make note of is that this build out is over the course of 100+ years. This is just the very beginning stages of this development. So I just want to make sure that we're all very clear that we're not going to have 10,000 jobs locating at the depot in the next year to 2 years. It's going to be a long, eventual process, but we need to put all of the groundwork in place. This plan is the first step of the process. Later this year, we will morph into an implementing organization where we begin to study, put together business plans, more detailed information on our infrastructure at the depot, and really try to put together a strategy as to how we can implement this plan and make it a reality. So that's the next evolution of our organization over the next few years. Ms. Clark.
Thank you for that parallel. Take it, by the way. So, how does this impact this large development compared to City of Pueblo and Petco and the Pueblo County trying to develop their 1, 2, 3, 10-acre tracts? It doesn't really compete with those. What will it do to those kind of development?
Lori, that's a great question, and when we do the economics on these projects, and Russell just discussed how we're going to look at infrastructure master plans based on what's there and what needs to be brought in, the economics of the situation always looks at not stealing from Peter to pay Paul. So the kinds of uses that are going to be developed here are probably larger in terms of scale, or they can be very small as well. The types of attributes that are here are probably different from some of your existing industrial complexes that are on I-25. I think there's 3 major complexes in the Pueblo area. And I don't think that you have to have the situation where one competes with the other directly. In fact, they can feed each other in many different ways. Some of the kinds of things that can be done out here in terms of the industrial complex probably can be accomplished there from the heavy industry standpoint. And again, the transshipment idea, most of the other sites are close to the highways, but not so much the airport and the rail.
They could be very complementary in nature.
And your point is well taken, and I think it begs the question that we work very closely with PEDCO, Pueblo County's economic development folks in the city of Pueblo, and it's really truly our goal to work together to bring new business to town. So the United Launch Alliance initiative that just happened recently at the Airport Industrial Park is being supported at our facility at the depot. So there's lots of synergies by working together, but it is not our intention to relocate businesses from the Airport Industrial Park to our facility. This is designed to work collaboratively with all of our stakeholder groups and to really bring new business and new industry to Pueblo proper. So, any other? Mr. Williams?
Just one more question on special district. I noticed that you didn't say anything about a special district, and it looks to me like that would be one of the better things that you could do as far as becoming a governmental entity, et cetera. And I just was wondering what your position is on that.
The implementation phase, again, and I'm not trying to push this off, but that is going to be one of the most important and complex details that has to be addressed. We've done these projects with Title 32 metropolitan districts. We've looked at special districts for utilities, stormwater. Every one of those tools that are in the toolbox will be looked at. None of them will be selected without a lot of scrutiny. But the amount of infrastructure that is not there today that will need to be put in play will require both public investment and also private investment. And we found that over the course of these developments, a little bit of public investment can spur a lot of private sector investment, which is what you really want to try to get going, to solve a lot of the complex infrastructure problems and get the building started that creates development velocity. The idea is not to foot the bill for the development on the back of the existing residents or the existing taxpayers. The idea is to make something that's better than it is today, so we share in the revenues, we share in the new tax base, and we get better public infrastructure out of it as well. All of those tools will be looked at in a pro forma, and that pro forma will dictate when and if bonding has to happen, impact fees are applied when land is sold, and it's a great thing. Your interest is exciting to me because I really get excited about the implementation phase where we start to solve the complex problem of not only how many dollars of investment has to be made, but when do they get made and who's going to be making the investments to make those happen. If we do this really well, we'll have a development velocity that exceeds what our standard absorption curve looks like, as Russell referred to, over 100 years, and we'll begin to get people to say, hey, this is the place we want to invest. And they'll bring the private dollars that can complement those public dollars that will be used very sparingly.
My question, either whether we like it or not, Colorado and Pueblo seem to be on the world stage because of marijuana growth. What do you see? Are there limitations? Are there exclusions? What do you see?
So good question. Thanks for that difficult question. So the property is currently owned by the United States Army. It's federal property, so no marijuana, no hemp allowed at this particular point in time. You will notice under the agricultural R&D portion of the property, we are contemplating the fact that you just mentioned, that there is the possibility for medical marijuana research, hemp research, those types of things are contemplated as a possibility on the depot at a time in which, you know, PluebloPlex owns the property, and that it's a good compatible use with the other activities that we have going on at the depot. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. Any other questions? We've answered everything this evening.
So-
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Russell. Curious, do you have any projections on job creation should the plan, meet its full extent there?
So I will, I'll take that question, and thank you for that other difficult question that we had. So, it goes back to what Russell just stated. This is a long-term build-up plan, 100+ years. So as we move into the implementation strategy and then to the next phase 2 with the implementation plan, you'll see more statistics on the potential. Remember, it's kind of a crystal ball, and I believe that we'll be presenting that in March when we go forward with the implementation strategy. And it's truly taking our best guess at the statistics as well as our expertise as what's been happening across the U.S. and through our market study. Yes.
Yeah, I want to invite you to look at our products in terms of the market study, because in there we looked at each of these land uses, and there's a projection of how this community and this property competes for those jobs both within the state of Colorado and also within the nation. You can do some very complex math behind this, which is again probably the statistics, or you could take these averages and look at what our absorption should be over time. And I'll give you one example. We looked at the steel manufacturing capacity and capability here, and you have I think it was a 3.4% advantage over the state of Colorado based on the attributes of the site. That doesn't mean you're gonna necessarily attract 3.4% more jobs than somewhere else. But what it means is that when you develop a plan and you get into implementation, we're going to focus hard on what are the things that have to be in place in terms of the water supply, what are the things that have to be in place in terms of the structures and the access to make that a reality, so that when it does become an opportunity, all of those steel producers and those people who want to work in that industry come to PluebloPlex and they don't go to some other site. So now you can take our report and get online and look at it, and you'll be able to calculate all the total jobs. I think in this particular one, I gave this exact example to the board. I believe we had some 3,000 jobs in about a 10-year span in that one industry. So to answer your question, it's hard because I'd have to go industry by industry and I'd have to pull the report out. We haven't tallied it in total. When we go to the next phase of work, we're going to have to put together something called an economic development conveyance application. That EDC requires that we do a tally of all jobs by absorption by year. And at the end of that phase of work, we'll be able to give you a very specific number. That still won't be exactly accurate, but it'll be a very good number in terms of testing. But I invite you to take a look at the market study that we prepared as well. Many. Yes, and this is what the exciting part is. We looked at some other great things about this community. Outside the great environment, the weather is obviously great. The access, there's a lot low encroachment. There's not a lot of population base close to the site. But the other thing is your wage rates. The wage rates in Pueblo County, we want to raise them. We want to bring higher paying jobs. And although you like to look at that and say, well, is this bad that we have lower wage rates than comparable communities around the country? No, it's an attractor. It's a business attractor. And what typically happens is people come because of low wage rates, and then the wage rates escalate over time. In addition, you're looking for higher paying jobs and more complex jobs, which are all part of the plan. And how we feather that out in the next phase of implementation is going to be very exciting. And we're excited about the challenge. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. What role did our higher education, PCC and CSU Pueblo, play in this master plan? And do you foresee them, do you see them contributing once we start into implementation?
So Lori, as part of this process, we had public meetings, but we also had focus groups, and so individuals from both PCC and the university were involved. As a matter of fact, Leslie DeMare is now an associate member of our board of directors. So we anticipate during the implementation phase that Pueblo Community College and CSU Pueblo are going to have to be very involved in this process. PCC primarily, from my perspective, on the law enforcement training, workforce training, bringing folks out to get our workforce up to speed on any new businesses that may locate at the depot, and CSUP in a myriad of areas relating to our infrastructure improvements and educational R&D work at the depot as well. So I think we'll work very closely, as you might imagine, with both higher institutions of higher education in Pueblo.
I'm going to take a break and call a couple numbers out here for the Powerball. So number 3. Everybody who's 9K qualifies. Good luck. So that's number 3. Number 22. 22.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Good luck as well. And number 52. Okay, I'm going to go with number...
52 is next.
Oh, there is a 52? Don't bump with excitement, man. I'm going to be already up here. Good luck. Okay, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Russell.
Any additional questions? I think we're
Are you gonna hand it
nearing
back
the
to
end.
me?
I think we're nearing the end, Celeste.
Okay.
So I'll turn it back over to Celeste.
We want to thank all of you for taking the time out this evening to join us again at the 3rd public meeting and the presentation and unveiling of the public draft. Please, again, we encourage you to provide us comments, and we look forward to those comments. Russell?
I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and I would just encourage you to keep visiting our website to stay engaged with us. This is a long process that we're about to embark upon, and we need all the support and all the help that we can get from the community to make this project a success. So thank you again, and we'll be around here after the meeting if you have individual questions, and I would welcome the opportunity to talk to you about some of the land use choices that we've put on the maps behind you. So thank you again. Have a good night.